Hello everyone, welcome to Well Explained. So today we will study about physical features of India, which is a chapter of class 9th in geography. Okay, so let's move on. So let's start with physiographic division. Okay, what is a physiographic division? See, physical feature is anything which we can see with our eyes. So the physical features which we see on the land, especially in India's case, are known as physical features or physiographic division. So from here you can see the legend, that is it's indicating what is shown in the map. So the purple color shows the Himalayan mountains, three Himalayan states, and here the seven sisters. But all seven sisters are not occupied by Himalayas. Only these are, except Meghalaya and Tripura and some parts of Assam, because here we have plateau which is known as Meghalaya tableland. Okay. Next is the Great Plain of India. Here Punjab and Haryana, and then UP, Bihar, West Bengal. So here we have Yamuna River, and in UP, Bihar, and West Bengal we have Ganga River. Okay, you know that. And Punjab is land of five rivers. Which five rivers are those? Ravi, Bihar, Satluj, Chenab, and Jhelum. Satluj, Chenab, and Jhelum are tributaries of Indus. So this is the land of five rivers. You must remember these five names. Okay. Then next comes the peninsular plateau. This is the major portion of India's land, peninsular plateau. This consists of Malwa plateau, Chota Nagpur plateau here. Then we have got Bundelkhand, Bagelkhand. Then we have got Deccan plateau. Then we have got small plateaus, Dandakarnaya, Telangana plateau. So we will learn about this in the following slides. Okay. Then comes the coastal plains. This pink portion is coastal plains. It is easy to remember: east coast, eastern coastal plains; west coast, western coastal plains. There are specific names given to them which we will learn in the following slides. I will tell you Utkal coast, Northern Sirkars, Coromandel coast. Okay. Then here we have Malabar coast, then Konkan coast and Kathiawar. Okay. Then we have islands, Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep. Now let's move on. Now briefly I will tell you that India is a country with varied landforms. I mean the different types of landforms which we study in geography, they all are found in India, like mountains, plains, deserts, plateaus, islands, all are found in India. Okay, and they are formed during different geological period. What is a geological period? This is written your geological periods: Quaternary, Tertiary, Cretaceous, Jurassic. You know Jurassic Park. So why it was named Jurassic Park? Because during Jurassic period there were dinosaurs. Okay. Then Triassic, Permian. See, all these period have some significance. Like coal was made in Cambrian period. Then Devonian period there were fishes which appeared on Earth. So these all the periods are famous for some activities. So you don't need to learn all of them, but you must know few of them which are important. Like I told you about coal. Okay, so you must know when coal started forming. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. Now they have told about plate movement. Now why it is important to know about plate movement? Because plate movement results in formation of mountains or earthquakes or plateaus. So that's why you must know how plate moves. You must have a brief idea. Okay. So you know that earth has many layers. I will move to the next slide. See, these are the layers of earth. Okay. You know crust, mantle, core. Okay. But there are many other layers also which you will study in your higher classes. So you must have a brief idea. See, we have got asthenosphere. You must remember this. So asthenosphere is brittle. Brittle means it is molten. There is lava. So if there is lava or there is something liquid and on that we have got something solid, so that solid thing will float, right? Suppose in a bucket you have water and you put a like paper on it, which will float on it. Okay, if you will put something heavy like an iron nail, then it will go inside, it will sink. But if the volume is less, then it will float. So I mean density, not volume. So the density of crust is less than asthenosphere, so it floats. And how mountains move or how land moves? They move on this molten asthenosphere. Just like a boat will move on a river body or an ocean. Okay, so now as we move on, it is written that the heat in the earth's core melts the rock and hence lava forms. I told you asthenosphere is like molten lava and it moves in a pattern called convection cell. So you can understand this why, suppose this is a landmass inside the earth. Now suppose this part has melted due to heat and this part is solid. So now what will happen? This solid part will move towards liquid part. Why? Because this is liquid, this is solid, so it will occupy the space of liquid. So in this way, convection cells will form, and this convection cells are formed all over the earth inside. Okay, so these cells form, and when they move, the plates move. That's why earthquake occurs. Also, that's why the earth, the landmass on earth is moving daily, but its speed is so small that we do not feel it. Okay, so whatever I have told you, they have written here, like cooled material sinks and warmed material rises. So this lava, which is molten, is warm, and warm things rise. You must have learned that warm air rises up and cool air sinks down. That's why rain occurs. So same phenomena occurs here also. So this molten lava which is hot moves up and its space is taken by this molten rocks which become molten with in due course of time. So in this way convection cells are formed. Okay, and this leads to folding, faulting and volcanic activity. Folding means this mountains are formed. Faulting means block mountains are formed. Suppose faulting occurs across this line, so there will be a crater formed in like this, and there will be two land masses. One will be there here, and one will be here, and in between we will have a rift valley. So here we have valley, and both sides we have got mountains. So that's how faulting occurs, and volcanic activity also occur. How volcanic activity will occur? Suppose two landmass move in opposite direction, then what will happen? The molten lava from inside the earth will come out, and hence volcanic activity will occur. Okay, now whatever I have told you, it occurs at three types of boundaries. Convergent boundaries. Converge means to move in similar direction or move towards one another. So in convergent boundary, the tectonic plates move towards each other. Okay, when they will move towards each other, suppose these two are boundary. Okay, now they are moving towards each other. They will move in this way, and mountains will form. Okay, the landmass will rise. Okay, then in divergent boundary what will occur? I told you na, rift valley and block mountain. So suppose these two are plates. Okay, now due to convective magma movement, these two boundaries will move in opposite direction, and when they will move in opposite direction, this place will be called valley, this gap, and these two will be called block mountains. Okay, then we have got transform boundary. In this, the two plates move along their borders. I will teach you this with a diagram. Okay, so this is a transform plate boundary. You can see these two are plates, they move like this is called slide passing effect. Okay, like this, they move like this, one in opposite direction and in this direction, and hence earthquake occurs. See, in divergent you can see in opposite direction, and this lava is coming out, and in convergent plate boundary in same direction. So this part rises up and forms mountains. Okay, now let's move on. Now force behind the plate. I told you about convection cells. So now they have depicted it with a diagram. So the plates move because of the slow motion of the hot mantle or magma. Okay, there is magma. Magma means liquid lava. Okay, located under the lithosphere. Lithosphere means the portion of the earth on which we live. Okay, so that layer is called lithosphere. If they have shown in this diagram, I will show you. Yes, they have written lithosphere. Okay, so this is the lithosphere which is made of crust plus upper mantle. You know three layers: crust, mantle, core. So lithosphere is made of whole of crust and little bit of mantle. Then asthenosphere is made up of mantle. Okay, I will write here asthenosphere. And then the other layer also comes in mantle. This is called D layer. It is not written here. I will tell you. Okay. You don't need to remember D layer. You just need to remember the concept of lithosphere and asthenosphere, because on asthenosphere, lithosphere moves. Okay, due to convective magma currents. So you can see there are cells are created in this diagram. So arrows are created, so cell are created, means magma is moving in this direction. And when magma is moving here near the land mass, so this magma creates movement in land also, and hence plate movements occur. Okay, now I've told you about how land moves. Okay, how the land portion of earth moves. Okay, now you will I will tell you about them by continental drift theory. Okay, CDT. This was given by Alfred Wegener. Okay, so what he said, that continents are moving. How? Because of convective magma currents. So you know earlier there was only one landmass called Pangaea. Let me tell you with this diagram, it is quite comprehensive. So earlier there was only one landmass called Pangaea. See, Eurasia, North America, South America, Africa, India, Australia, all together made Pangaea. Okay. Now then what happened? This landmass broke into two parts, Gondwana land and Angara land. Okay, they have not written here. The northern part was Angara land. Okay. So Gondwana land comprised of India, Australia, Antarctica and Africa, and they have written Laurasia. Laurasia was also known as Angara land. It was made up of North America and Eurasia. Then after that, continents moved more towards the current orientation. So Eurasia moved towards north, North America towards west. Okay, then South America also towards west. Africa came here, India moved here, Australia will move there, and hence today's continents will get formed, which were formed 66 million years ago. So now you can easily relate how we went from this orientation to this orientation. Slowly continents were moving. Okay, you can look, this is the perfect globe or map representation of today's world. See, all countries are where we are today. So we have come from this to this by how? Continental drift theory, which is moved by convective magma currents. Okay, so now we will now study how Himalayas are formed. Now I told you convergent boundary. So Indian plate is moving towards Eurasian plate. Okay, this you have to remember. Now this is Indian plate and this is Eurasian plate, where Russia, China, everybody are there. Every country is there in north of India. So this is India is moving toward Eurasia, Eurasia is moving towards India. So I told you when two plates converge towards each other, mountains are formed. That's what they have written. But how we got the sediments of fold mountains? So there was a sea called Tate's Sea, which was there in this diagram also. See, it is written Tate's Sea. You can call it Tethys Sea also. It's a right pronunciation. Okay, so there was sea, there is sediments. This orange color part is sediment. Now these plates are moving towards each other. So compression created, and when compression created, fold mountains formed, which is formed here. So I think you can visualize in your mind how they were formed when two plates move each other. So that's what they have written. So they have written geosyncline called Tate Sea. What is geosyncline? Geosyncline is an area where sediments are deposited. Okay, now they have given 120 million years ago. No need to remember this. Now I told you about Laurasia and Gondwana land, and between it was Tate Sea. When the plates moved towards each other, the sediments underwent compression force. Compression means to press towards each other and crush the sediments of tates, and folds were formed. That's why Himalayas are called young fold mountains, because they are very young. They are recently formed, and they are formed due to folding of the sediments. Okay, so that's all the explanation they have given here. Now let's move on to our next slide. Okay, now the Himalayas are 2400 kilometers long from this portion to this portion. Okay, and their width varies from 400 kilometers in Jammu and Kashmir. You can see this area is long, as we see, from north to south, and this area is relatively short, north to south. 150 kilometers in Arunachal. If you see Arunachal, then this area is very small as compared to this. So 400 kilometers and 150 kilometers. Also, the altitude means the height above mean sea level. Okay, you must have read about mean sea level at railway station. So suppose if you go to Bareilly Junction, there on the board will be written Bareilly Junction, and its height will be written, and then it will be written above mean sea level. So mean sea level is a parameter which we use to measure height. Okay, so that is known as altitude, and altitude variations are greater in eastern part than in the western part. Okay, and then in Himalayas, three parallel ranges are there, which are known as Himadri, which is highest, Himachal, which is at the middle, and Shivalik, which is least height, least tallest of the three parallel ranges. Okay, now I've told you the mountain ranges run from west to east. From Indus, we have got Indus here, Indus River. I told you about the five tributaries of Indus. I hope you remember them. I want you to write them in the comment section, the five tributaries, because if you remember them, you can write, and if you don't, you can Google and write. In this way, you will remember them. Okay. Till Brahmaputra, Brahmaputra, it comes from China. It is known as Sangpo, and then it enters India and then goes into Bangladesh. Okay. Now distance I told you and width I told you. Okay, so this portion we have covered. So these are Himalayas. Okay, now greater Himalayas are also known as Himadri. You have to remember this. Okay, they are northernmost. I told you about this. Their average height is 6,000 meters. Okay, and perennially so snowbound, and many glaciers are found. Perennial means annual, means yearly. Biennial means once in 2 years, and perennial is always. So Himalayas are always covered in snow. The Himadri is always covered in snow, so they are perennial. Okay, now these are few mountain peaks given. This is in Nepal, then Kanchenjunga is in India. That's all. You have to remember only first two. You can leave the rest. Okay, now the lesser Himalayas means the Himachal. Okay, they are south of Himadris and most rugged. Okay, altitude they have given, no need to remember this. You need to remember few of the ranges in Himachal, which is Pir Panjal, it is in Himachal Pradesh. Then Dhauladhar, Mahabharat is in Nepal. then Kangra Valley, Kullu Valley in Himachal Pradesh, you know Kullu Manali and Kangra Valley, then Kashmir Valley, all these are part of Himachal. Now the lowest part of Himalayas, that is Shivaliks, they are the least tallest and are known as outer Himalayas. Their average altitude is 900 to 1100 meters only, and they are mostly composed of sediments. Sediments how? Because river in the mountains brings sediments with them, because water will bring pebbles and soil with them to lower reaches. So these Shivaliks are made up of sediments, and these sediments lead to the formation of alluvial soil, which makes our Great Plains. That's why we have got so much of agriculture in India. Okay. Now there are few valleys in Shivaliks, longitudinal valleys. Longitudinal means like this, because I told you what does longitude and latitude means. Longitude means north to south lines. So these longitudinal valleys are there, and they are known as dunes. So they have given two famous dunes, Kotli Dune and Patli Dune. You might not know these two, but you must know one very famous dune, which is Dehradun. Dehradun is in Uttarakhand. Now you remember, na? So Dehradun is like a longitudinal valley. Okay, now let's move on. Now from east to west also the Himalayan ranges are classified. So the westernmost part is Punjab Himalayas. Okay, so we will see the Punjab Himalayas are here, and they are made up of Kashmir Himalayas and Himachal Himalayas. Okay, and they are between Indus and Satluj. Indus is here and Satluj is here. Let me change the color. Okay, now Kumaon Himalayas are between Satluj and Kali. So Satluj I have told you is here. Kali river is a boundary between India and Nepal. So in between we have got Kumaon Himalayas. Kumaon Himalayas are mostly in Uttarakhand. Then we have got Nepal Himalayas. Nepal Himalayas are in Nepal, and they are between Kali, which is here, and Tista is a river in West Bengal. It comes from Sikkim, from Zemu Glacier. I told you there are glaciers in Himalayas, so this is one of the glaciers from which Tista River comes. Do you know more glacier? You will write in comment section one or two glacier which you know. I will tell you few glaciers, like remember them, like we have got Gangotri from which Ganga comes. Then we have got Siachen Glacier, India Pakistan war. Siachen Glacier is always in news whenever India Pakistan war or something occurs. So Siachen, Gangotri, Zemu Glacier. Now if you remember any other glacier, please write in comment section. Now we move on. Assam Himalayas. Assam Himalayas are more toward the east. Okay, here they between Tista and Dihang River. Tista is here, I told you, in Sikkim, and then in West Bengal, Dihang River comes from Arunachal to Assam. And then eastern hills and mountains are there towards more east, which are east of Brahmaputra. Okay, they are also known as Purvanchal hills, and they are composed of, you can remember this, Patkai, Naga, Manipur, Mizo. Why it is easy to remember? Because Manipur is a state, Manipur hills. Mizoram is a state, Mizo hills. Nagaland is a state, Naga hills. And Patkai, you can remember, Patkai is in Arunachal Pradesh. So you can remember the name of these hills. Now we have read about Himalayas. Next is Northern Plains. Now mainly three rivers make the Northern Plains, which is Satluj, which is part of Indus system, then Ganga, and then Lower Ganga. And then the third part is Brahmaputra. Okay, it is written Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra. Now plains are made from alluvial soil. I told you na that rivers from the mountains bring pebbles, stones, and soil, and as they reach the plains, the pebbles are broken down into soil, which makes the alluvial soil, and it makes the most fertile lands of the world. That's why it is very good for agriculture. So Punjab plains are formed from the western part of northern plains. They form the western part of northern plains. And see, here they have given the tributaries. I told you earlier, now you can remember Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj. These are the tributaries of Indus and which make the Punjab plains. And a major portion of these plains is in Pakistan also, because you can see these rivers are here also, and this is not in India, this is in Pakistan. So the Punjab plains are in Pakistan also. Now the Ganga plains, they are between Ghaggar and Teesta. I told you about Teesta river. Teesta river is this one, and Ghaggar is in Haryana. So between these two, I will change the color again so that you can see. Okay, here and here. So in between we have got Ganga plains. Okay, they are in Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, and part of Jharkhand and West Bengal. These are Gangetic plains. And then Brahmaputra, it is very easy to remember. It is in Assam. Okay, see, this is a better map from where you can remember the plains. So this shaded portion is Punjab Haryana plain. This is Upper Ganga, Middle Ganga, Lower Ganga, and this is Brahmaputra plain. Okay, so try to visualize the map and you can remember in your mind. It will be easy to write down the answer if you know the map. Okay, now I will talk about few features of the plains. Okay, so there are four regions in northern plains. First is Bhabar. See, if you remember like this is a mountain, river is coming and flowing like this. Suppose this is Ganga. Okay. So now here the rocks were very big in the mountains. You know, landslide occurs in mountains. So these rocks are carried by rivers. Okay. In the influence of gravity also and the flow of the river, because river here flows very fast. If you have visited mountains, then you know. Okay. But as they come down, they break into many parts. They become small pebbles. Then when they come more towards south, then they become like small stones. Then when they come more south, then they become soil. Okay. So now you can easily understand this. So first comes Bhabar. Okay. So after descending, the rivers deposit pebbles in a narrow belt parallel to the Shivaliks. So suppose there are big pebbles near Shivaliks. What will happen? The river will disappear here because the rocks are heavy and it will occupy all the space. And below where there is space, the river will flow, but the river will not come above the pebbles. Okay, so they disappear. Then Tarai region is south of Bhabar, somewhere here, and this here the streams reappear. Why? Because the pebbles are broken like into these small fragments. Then Bhangar is the largest part of northern plain and it has oldest alluvial soil. Why? Because it is largest. So it took a lot of time to form. When it took a lot of time to form, so it is largest and oldest also. And they lie above the floodplains. Okay. Now Khadar. Khadar is the younger alluvium called Khadar and it is very fertile. Why? Because the finest soil formed by the river in the last stage is Khadar. It is so small that it can carry moisture also and fertile content also. So this is Khadar. Let's move on. Now we move on to the peninsula. The peninsula is divided into two parts. You can see in the map also. First is Central Highlands, second is Deccan towards the south, and third is Chota Nagpur. Chota Nagpur plateau is near the Jharkhand area. Okay. Now the Central Highlands are made up of Malwa Plateau, Bundelkhand, Bagelkhand, Chota Nagpur. I told you in the first or second slide only. And Deccan Plateau is made up of Deccan Trap, Western Eastern Ghats, and the Plateau extension. Okay. Now what are Central Highlands? Central Highlands, if you see, they are here. See India's map, Bundelkhand. Wait a minute, red color. Bundelkhand, Bagelkhand, Kaimur Hills, Ramgarh Hills, Mahadev, Vindhya, Satpura, and Malwa Plateau. All this is part of Central Highlands. You can read it here. And then Chota Nagpur Plateau, which is here. Okay. And then rivers flow in this area. Malwa Plateau, I already told you. Narmada River is here, and Tapi River is here. So these are example of Rift Valley. Earlier I told you na Rift Valley how it formed because of divergent boundary, tensional force. So Rift Valley forms, and in Rift Valley river flows. So Narmada is our Rift Valley. And what is Block Mountain here? It is Vindhya and Satpura range. You can see Satpura is to the south of Narmada and Vindhya is to the north. So now you can understand, this is Vindhya, this is Satpura, and between flows Narmada. Okay, and the Deccan Plateau, it is south of Narmada. So south of Narmada is this part. This is Deccan Plateau. Okay, so it is triangular in shape. I made a triangle, inverted triangle, and Satpura range is its northern part. Okay, okay. Then the slope of Deccan Plateau is from west to east. This slope is in this direction. So you can understand why big rivers like Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri all flow towards east. Why? Because slope is in this direction. And this Deccan Plateau extends into the northeast, Meghalaya, Karbi, Anglong Plateau and North Chachar Hills. Earlier I told you that in Meghalaya and Tripura there are no Himalayas. Why? Because it is made up of plateau, Meghalaya Plateau, and here they have written Deccan Plateau का part है Meghalaya. So now you understand what I told you in earlier slides. Okay. Now the difference between Central Highlands and Deccan Plateau. Central Highlands in north. You can read this by yourself. I already explained you north of Narmada, south of Narmada, bounded by Aravali, Vindhya, Malwa, Chota Nagpur. Okay, they are bounded by eastern and western Ghats. This is eastern and western Ghats. So Deccan Plateau is bounded by eastern and western Ghats. Okay, and its slope is from west to east. Okay, and its slope is from southwest to northeast. Okay, so Deccan Plateau slope is, I told you, from west to east. You can make it more correct by southwest to northeast in this direction. Okay, now we move on to eastern and western Ghats. It is very simple. Western Ghats lie towards the western coast and eastern Ghats lie towards the eastern coast. The western Ghats are more in elevation as compared to the eastern Ghats. Okay, and eastern Ghats stretch from Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris. So this is the Mahanadi Valley. Wait, this is this is written Mahanadi. Okay, so this is the Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris, which is written. Okay, and the Western Ghats are responsible for rains in Mumbai and other parts of western coast like Kerala and Karnataka. You know, during monsoon, the Western Ghats receive more rainfall than Eastern Ghats. Why? Because Western Ghats are more in height as compared to Eastern Ghats. So to have a orographic rainfall which occurs due to mountains, the mountain's height must be good enough. So that's why Mumbai receive more rainfall and at time it also undergoes floods. Okay, so this difference between Western and Eastern Ghats you can read from yourself. I will just show you that Nilgiris is the meeting point of Western and Eastern Ghats, and there are many hills like Javadi, Chevroy. This is the part of Eastern Ghats, and Cardamom, Anamalai, a part of Western Ghats. Okay, so there are many peaks. They will tell about it, and they will also tell about that the soil of Western Ghats is fertile. Eastern Ghats is not fertile. Why? Because Western Ghats receive more rainfall. Okay, then Western Ghats are a narrow strip, and Eastern Ghats are broader. You can you can see in your map, or you can see here also, Western Ghats are narrow and Eastern Ghats are broad. ज़्यादा फैले हुए हैं ये. Okay. Now let's move on to the Great Indian Desert or the Thar Desert, which is in Rajasthan. Its area is 2 lakh square kilometer and it is the ninth largest subtropical desert. Okay. You can see in the map. This is Pakistan. This is India. This is Rajasthan. So Thar Desert is almost completely in Rajasthan. Okay. Then we have got Aravali Range. This is Aravali Range. This is the oldest mountains in India. And Thar Desert is towards the west of this range. Okay, it receives less than 150 mm rainfall is in the year, and vegetation is scanty, and Luni is the only large river, but it disappears. So, okay, the coastal plains. Now we have talked about Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats. Now we will talk about coastal plains. Earlier in the Indian map, I told you about coastal plain, Utkal coast, Andhra or Nadan Sarkar, Coromandel, Kanyakumari or Malabar, Kannada or Konkan coast, and then Kathiawar coast. You have to remember, you can remember the state and remember the link it with the coast. Okay, that's what they have explained here. Northern part is called Konkan, then Kannada, then Malabar, then along Bay of Bengal, Northern Sirkar, Coromandel, and Utkal. I told you na Andhra coast is also known as Northern Sirkar. That's what they have written here. Then they have talked about the rivers Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri. Mahanadi is in Odisha, Godavari and Krishna is in Andhra Pradesh, and Kaveri is in Tamil Nadu. Okay, then the islands. There are two islands in India or Indian territory. Okay, so these are Andaman and Nicobar Island, and these are Lakshadweep. So we'll talk about them. Lakshadweep headquarters is in Kavarati Island, which is its capital and rich in biodiversity. Then Andaman are many islands, but in two groups. Andaman is in the north and Nicobar is in the south. Okay, now by map you can understand this is in the Bay of Bengal towards the east of India, and this is in Arabian Sea to the west of India. So these are very close to Kerala, but these Andaman and Nicobar are far from Indian mainland, and we have got Kavarati capital and many other important islands like Minicoy, Agati, and Rot. These are coral islands. They are made of coral. Okay, and this is the importance of these islands: tourism, security, trade, migration, arms smuggling, control of Indian Ocean. I told you about strategic importance in the last slide. You can refer to that slide to understand the strategic importance of Indian islands. Okay, so there are 36 coral islands that constitute Lakshadweep Islands, and only 10 are inhabited, and they are made of coral reefs. I told you about this Kavarati also, and the flora and fauna diversity is huge. Okay, so you can read about islands, few islands and their importance, and you can read this difference also. Like Andaman is in volcanic origin because we have got few dormant volcanoes like Barren, Barren, and Narcondam, Narcondom, Narcondam Islands. Okay, so these two are volcanic in origin. That's why Andaman are volcanic. Capital is Port Blair, and they lie in Bay of Bengal. This also I told you. So these are the main difference. The physiographic divisions of India. I hope you all have understood it. The Himalayas, the Great Plains, the plateaus, the coastal plains, Eastern Ghats, Western Ghats, and the Thar Desert. Everything must be understood to you by now. So that's all for today. Please like and subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to never miss a video from Well Explained. I will meet you in the next video. Till then, thank you. Keep watching and keep learning.